Welcome to this explainer. Let's just dive right in because today we are exploring something truly fascinating. We're looking at how ancient spiritual practices from all across the globe aren't just, symbolic rituals for worship. They are actually practical energetic technologies. And these traditions were explicitly designed to counteract the heavy chaos of the world. From Taoism and Sufism to Zen, Wiccan, Hermetic, and Abrahamic traditions, we're going to see how these frameworks view holiness as a really tangible method, a way to shift our environments towards brighter, much more positive vibrations. Now, if you've been feeling this kind of overwhelming, tense energy lately, you absolutely are not alone. Sudden accidents, repeated tragedies, they leave people on edge, and that tense energy, it feeds on itself. But what's incredible is that ancient esoteric traditions validate exactly what you're experiencing right now. They don't just brush this off as psychological stress. They actually view it as a measurable, energetic reality. Section 1. The metaphysics of chaos. So to understand how to fight back, we first really need to know what we're dealing with. This heavy, chaotic feeling isn't just in your head. It's an active, entropic momentum that's recognized across global spiritual frameworks. Enter a concept called the egregore. In occult theory, when collective anxiety, grief, or fear pools together, it forms a living, non-physical field of energy. And once a group feeds it enough of their attention, the egregore becomes its own autonomous entity. It survives by making you feel the very fear it needs to sustain itself. You might feel it as an unspoken cultural shame or just a collective anxiety that you literally cannot shake. And we see a remarkably similar concept in the Abrahamic traditions, too. Kabbalah calls this encroaching darkness the Sitra Achra, which translates to the other side. This force latches onto fragmented energy and emotional turmoil, things like anger and fear. It acts like a husk feeding on the lack of rectification in the world. So across the board, these ancient traditions agree, chaos is an active force, and it feeds right on our despair. Section 2. Syntropy and Spiritual Physics. Fortunately, there is a counterforce to all this chaos. It's a practical method of cosmic ordering called syntropy. Think of it as a constant battle. On one hand, entropy drives us toward disorder, vulnerability, and stagnant energy, what Taoists might call shay-ki. On the other hand, syntropy restores order. It uses intentional acts of holiness like baraka in Sufism, mangala in Buddhism, or kedusha in Kabbalah to actively pull transcendent, ordering energy right into our physical plane. So, holiness isn't just some abstract religious concept, it is a totally practical, energetic tool. What's truly mind-blowing is just how universal this technology is. Across Taoist, Sufi, Buddhist, and Zen traditions, their rituals are way more than mere symbols. For example, Sufi collective chanting actually utilizes acoustic resonance to physically alter the density of a room. Or Zen calligraphy, it utilizes somatic grounding to quiet the nervous system. These are highly technical mechanisms designed to realign matter and energy. It proves that intention physically changes our atmosphere. Section 3. Defending the Inner Vessel. Now, to push back the darkness in our environments, we have to start at the micro level. We've got to build our personal defense. Traditions like Taoism describe 3 Wei Qi fields: the physical, energetic, and spiritual bodies. This acts as an aura, or what Kabbalah calls the makif. It's a literal shield that surrounds us, and it protects our inner vessel from external psychic attacks and all that negative environmental energy. But here is exactly where we become vulnerable. When we succumb to intense, prolonged fear, jealousy, or anger, this protective boundary weakens. Emotional turmoil actually breaches the integrity of the Wei Qi, or the makaf. It's like a crack in the armor, and it creates an opening for those negative egregores or external entities to latch onto us and feed. So how do we repair it? Well, we fortify the shield through very practical physical actions. Think about purifying the body through ritual baths, like the Jewish mikveh, or fusing virtuous energies in your core, like they teach in Taoist internal alchemy. Even something as simple as meditating in absolute presence, like Zen Mushin, or vocalizing sacred breath, known as Sufi nafas. Doing these things actually projects an impenetrable shield of light from your inner vessel outward. Section 4. Sanctifying your physical space. Okay, so once your inner vessel is secure, the very next step is to sanctify your immediate physical environment. And this relies on a fascinating concept found in both occult traditions and modern quantum physics, a sensitive dependence on initial conditions. Basically, a microscopic shift in your room's spiritual and physical parameters, something like lighting a candle or just clearing your desk, can completely dictate the long-term macro behavior of your life. You are literally inserting divine order into a chaotic system. And here is exactly how you do that. Surprisingly, the absolute most potent magic is often just deep cleaning. Clean your space to remove what Taoists call stagnant qi. Light some candles, burn incense because rising smoke traditionally carries prayers and cleanses localized space. Bring in living green plants to calm your nervous system. And use acoustic resonance, ring a bell, give a single clap, or chant. These actions physically rearrange the atmosphere. They reduce sensory overload and actively ward off the darkness. In fact, if you're ever feeling overwhelmed, try this highly practical 3-minute reset. Step 1, just open a window and tidy a small area. Step 2, light a candle or a calming scent. Step 3, take 3 slow breaths and speak a positive intention aloud. This simple, steady habit breaks the cycle of worry, it shifts the room's frequency, and keeps your nervous system balanced. Section 5. Starving the negative egregore. By establishing order in your personal space, you kick off a much larger process. You actively start starving the negative collective entities that thrive on our despair. This brings us to a really foundational rule of occult theory, the law of energy input. Egregores require a constant supply of our linear time, our fear, and our attention. If we stop feeding them, they destabilize. They slowly lose their coherence, and eventually, they just fade into activity. The power is entirely in our hands. To sever that cord, you must return to the absolute present moment. Because egregores need linear time, a past to resent and a future to fear, they simply cannot survive in the raw space of the present. By focusing on your breath and consciously withdrawing from collective doom scrolling and mental loops, you cut the supply line to that collective hallucination. You reclaim your individual, energetic sovereignty. Section 6. Healing the collective field. Finally, we expand outward, because in all of these traditions, personal healing is never only personal. When an individual clears their own energy, they shift the very energetic field that others are swimming in. And this isn't just ancient mysticism. It's a concept increasingly supported by studies in collective consciousness and quantum fields. You actually become a new data point, carrying the frequency of healing rather than harm. Like a lotus rising right up through the mud, you change the environment just by being rooted in your own peace. And this effect, it is massively amplified when ordinary people or religious groups come together. When communities share rhythms of care, whether that's sharing positive prayers, engaging in neighborhood cleanups, creating public moments of silence, or treating nature with eco-spiritual harmony, the social attention multiplies. This syntropic impact creates incredible community resilience. It literally turns collective despair into uplifting shared strength. So let's tie this all together. Words like holy or auspicious are really simply ancient names for these practical acts of care. From a Wiccan blessing or a Hermetic rite to a Buddhist consecration, holiness is a practical technology of cosmic alignment. It's not just imagination. It protects us, it uplifts us, and it actively pushes back the darkness by changing the very fabric of our physical and energetic reality. So, as you navigate these darker times, I want to leave you with this question to ponder. What is one small, intentional act of syntropy you can perform today to shift the energy of your space? How will you reclaim your peace and alter your environment? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Start small, be intentional, and always remember the immense power you hold over your own reality.